Children often will, actually when they're quite young, it turns out, really start relying on the linguistic or grammatical cues, even more so than cues they used to use when they were younger to sort of figure out what we were talking about, like eye gaze, which is a type of social cue, right? Like joint attention, where are you both looking? And that will help them figure out like what you're talking about. But Paquette, Smith, and Johnson in 2016 found that 2-year-olds already really are, when those two things are in conflict, when the linguistic or grammatical cues are in conflict with a social cue like eye gaze, that 2-year-olds are going to prefer actually to rely on the linguistic cues. So here's an example of the kind of task that they did to figure this out. So during training, you would see two pictures, a picture of two little purple guys or one little green guy. And what they would say are, these are nice blickets. Can you find the blickets? And for an adult, even though we have no idea what blicket is, the fact that we have these are and the S on the end of the word blicket says, oh, there's more than one of these things, whatever they are, and given that I have two of these guys and just one of this guy, I must be talking about these guys, right? So even though if we have no idea where this person is looking, just from the linguistic cues, the grammatical cues, we as adults can figure out that we're talking about these guys. And importantly for the kids during training, this is what they put in conflict, right? So they would say, these are nice blickets, can you find the blickets? But the adult would be looking at the one green guy, right? So this is a case where the linguistic cue of plurality, and that there is more than one thing, more than one blicket, is in conflict with where the speaker is looking. And they can do the same thing with singular. So where is the blicket? Can you see a blicket? And again, with adults, even if we have no idea where the speaker is looking, the is and the say, oh, there's only one of these things, I must be looking at this rather than these guys. But again, for the training part of this study, they would say this, where is the blicket? Can you see a blicket? And they would be looking at the two green guys, right? So, based on the grammatical cues, the linguistic markers up here of plurality, of singular down here, you would figure out that blicket is the purple guy, right? Whether you have two of them or one of them, even though the speaker in each of these cases was looking at the green guys, right? So that's what you would do if you were relying on linguistic cues. If instead you were relying on the eye gaze, you would think a blicket is the green guys, right? So that's what happened during training, right? So again, you're saying the plural thing but looking at the singular guy, or you're saying the singular thing and looking at the plural guy. These are the cues in conflict. And it turns out that, 2-year-olds basically do what adults do. And they rely on the linguistic cues to figure out that blicket's actually this guy, right? Because there's more than one of them. There's a singular, right? So it's the purple guys. And we know this because during test, we can see that they look at the correct reference. So say, hey, look at the blicket, do you like it? Or look at the blickets, do you like them? Now, they're the same number, but they always looked at the purple guy, right? Because they relied on the linguistic cue, the grammatical cue, rather than the eye gaze to tell them what referent was picked out, in this case the purple blicket, right? So it is a blicket, them is the blicket, because that's what they learned blicket meant. Now, one thought on why this might be comes from a recent paper by Lids, is that basically children expect words that have similar meanings to have similar linguistic distributions, right? So learning really depends, as you progress through language development, on a memory for syntactic, linguistic environments, right? So the non-linguistic context in which a word is used is less constrained, is more variable, and so contributes less to the memories that drive word learning. So in our case, again, the syntactic environment is going to be these grammatical, these linguistic cues of singular blickets and these and are, right? And the eye gaze is sort of that non-linguistic context, which might be more variable. And so kids, as they get older, in this case 2, they're learning to rely more on the linguistic context rather than the more variable non-linguistic eye gaze cue.